Hey guys, Blaumagier here, and we're back with more Boy and his Blob. And I'm going to throw a jellybean to turn him into a bubble. It's time to try once more for that aggravating treasure underwater. I actually got it on my first try in my practice run. But I am not so lucky during the actual thing. I guess it's the LP curse. But you can see we're closing in on the remainder of the treasures, so that's good at least. Well, at least I got it. But now I can't die anymore. That treasure is so aggravating to get. Fun fact, that treasure actually caused me to not beat this game until I was in my 20s. Because as a kid, I got so frustrated with it that I never could get that treasure. And I didn't know that you didn't actually need to get all the treasures to beat the game. Which is true, you don't. Really, there's only one treasure that you need to beat the game. And that will be the last one we get. But anyways, we are done underwater. And honestly, I would say, aside from that one stupid treasure, this game's pretty fun. I mean, really, it's like a puzzle kind of game. A lot of trial and error. And it would be a lot better if they didn't have a life system in it. But for what it is, being during the era where games were meant to actually be somewhat unforgiving, it works. You want to be careful that you don't go up too much on the screen, or else that thing will kill you. Oh man, I was afraid I was gonna die walking under that thing. Alright, there's another treasure up here. I believe. I hope I don't hit my head here. Dang it. Well, that was a wasted tangerine. Yeah, there's definitely some aggravation with aligning the trampoline because if you haven't guessed it yet, oftentimes you can't see where you're jumping to. Now, you might be tempted to try and go up there, but yeah, don't try it because you won't make it. And you can hit your head on the ceiling, but it doesn't hurt you, so don't worry about it too much. Whew. That right there was probably the absolute maximum distance you can fall without dying. That cuts it pretty close. And there's nothing up above us. Whoa. So we need to jump up. Once again. Okay, there's no treasure that we can get by jumping on the trampoline, so I don't know why I keep smashing my head like that. I'm holding down and it gains height somehow. Now one thing to take note while we're in the cave here, is that the camera does tend to follow the jelly bean when you throw it, unless you move. So that's one thing to keep in mind. There's actually one jelly bean that takes advantage of this mechanic in the game, and that is the coconut jelly bean. It turns them into a ball. You can pick them up and gain some momentum and throw them. I think really this is meant to test upcoming screens to see, like, if you're just gonna fall off and die, or if there's a monster there or something. But when you know where everything is, it's useless unless you're going for... well, I'll explain that later. But in a standard run, it will be useless if you know where everything is. In case you haven't guessed it yet, this series will have bonus episodes. Or at least a bonus episode. Alright, watch this jelly bean fall. For some reason the screen won't follow the blob all the way back up though. It stops right there. I don't know why. Alright, now there's two ways you could get out of this after you get the treasure. But you want to do it the way I'm doing it if you want to collect all of the treasures, and that is to give the blob a punch, preferably in the face. And you got to avoid this thing, which can be difficult at times, and still be able to throw the jelly bean, I mean. But once you do, you can get that treasure, and you actually don't want to go over this way because that's that screen that we were jumping up, and you will die. Unless you have the umbrella. But, you know, whatevs. And I am actually going to show this because this is one of those rooms that you can't use the licorice ladder to climb up. Now, I'm definitely not going to do that again because I would die. I wish you'd gotten a little closer than that. Okay, there you go. Now, calling the blob to you and getting him exactly where you want him can often be an ordeal. And you may want to turn him into a blowtorch or the umbrella or something similar that you can pick him up and place him where you need him, because when you change him back into the blob from being something, he'll stay where he is. But if you try to call him to you, there's like a minimum amount of space he has to move, which is basically the length of one of his hops, which you can see is a pretty large distance. This is really only a huge deal when setting your bridges, your ladders, and the trampoline. Speaking of the trampoline, I do believe I need it right here. I hope I can get that. Okay, good. And there was only one treasure left. And as fate would have it, it is the one treasure that we actually need to complete the game. The rest of them are totally optional. I think there was one treasure I picked up and didn't point out that contained jelly beans. That's like your one restock in case you start running low on some of them. Use the ladder here, and we will notice that this is over there, so we've come full circle. Climb up the ladder here. Now over here, this is one of the rooms that you can't use the licorice ladder to go up on. So we'll have to do our upward travel here. Also, the screen directly above it is another one of those screens that you can't use the licorice ladder to go up on. Why? I don't know. It makes absolutely no sense, since you can just go literally the screen over and do it there. There's no hazards you're avoiding or anything by doing it the other way. But anyways, there's our last treasure. And as you will see, it is jelly beans. It is actually only 2 jelly beans, I believe. And that is the lime jelly beans. You do not want to use these right now, because if you use up both of them, you render the game unwinnable. Anyways, let's make our strawberry bridge. This is probably not close enough. Yep, and that's what happens when you don't get close enough. No, don't waste one. Come here, stupid blob. Alright. Now, if you try to use a ladder here, you would notice there's a manhole cover there. We are right below the surface, as the subway familiar backgrounds might indicate. So we are going to use the apple here and get ready for a horrible pun. The Applejack. Anyways, once we do that, we can call him back and use a licorice jelly bean to climb on out of here. I found that if you use the trampoline to get out of here, you can actually like glitch yourself to where you're not like standing on the surface, you're like just below it. It makes moving around a little bit weird. But anyways, now that we have all the treasures, if we go back to the health food store, we can get a crap ton of vitamins. However many treasures you have determines how many you get, and this is obviously the max. As you can see there, we got 950 of vitamin C, and that's the only one you need, really. Well, to be perfectly honest, you don't need any of them. Anyways, now it is time to travel to Blobolonia with our root beer rocket. And right here, you saw those peppermints in the sky. Well, that is a collectible that is here on Blobolonia. What is the point of them, you may be wondering? Well, for every 5 you collect, you get a 1-up. So I am going to collect all of them. There's actually, it's interesting, there's actually an odd number of them. I think there's enough. I think there's 16 of them total. But anyways, I am going to end it here after having collected those. This has been Let's Play A Boy and His Blob. I am Blaumagier, and I will see you guys next time. Later.